This is Eagles Real Talk Live. Yesterday didn't go as planned for the Birds, but I'm here to tell you there's a lot of hope for the future. I'm going to go over the game yesterday, how I feel today after, sleeping on the loss. But, some good things actually happened yesterday. And I think that, we have a lot to look forward to as Eagles fans. So let's get straight into it. So yesterday, we took an L to the GOAT. As myself, I had a lot of confidence going up against the Bucks, especially with a lot of their guys missing in action. I thought that we could take advantage of that, get to Tom Brady early and often, but that wasn't the case. A lot of blame is to go around for the loss, but for me personally, I put most of the blame on the defensive coordinator. I believe that we came out with a soft approach, and that just, put us behind in the 8 ball. When you start down 14, 17, 0, you're in a tough place giving up points that quick. But with that said, Jalen obviously didn't have his best game. He didn't have his best game as an Eagle. Some people were saying that, it's possibly his worst game. Considering the moment, I can understand, people's frustration with Jalen as well. He threw a pick in the red zone, to a guy who was wide open. He missed Quez Watkins at least 3 times on a couple deep balls and one across the middle that could have potentially been a touchdown or a long reception. So Jalen obviously has some blame to go around as well on him. But Nick Sirianni, he dropped the ball a little bit too. His game plan going in, I thought, and a lot of Eagles fans thought that he was gonna, go with the ground and pound, especially considering the weather and all this. But we didn't do that. We didn't go with that ground and pound. And yeah, they stacked the box. We understand that, but why not use a bruiser like Jordan Howard? Maybe he's not healthy. Maybe that's why Nick Sirianni chose to stick with Miles Sanders, Miles Sanders didn't play bad, but the whole RPO game wasn't working. It should have just been a more ground and pound game with our running backs. So with that said, there's definitely blame to go around. But let's check out what the Eagles Real Talk community has to say. So I took a poll yesterday. 255 people voted. Who's the most to blame for the Eagles playoff loss? So Jalen Hurts led the way with 36% of the vote. So, it's not surprising. You're the main guy on the team. You get the ball every damn down. So a lot of blame usually does go on the quarterback. But in this scenario, I think we may be judging him a little too hard, and hear me out on this. So this is year 2 for him. We understand that, but this is actually more like year 1. Last year was basically a redshirt year. He played 4 games at the end of the year. We were already out of contention for the playoffs. It was a really bad year. It was, a 2020 year that was a mess in general. So at the end of the day, this was really his rookie season. His first, 15, 16 games as a starter, and he did enough to get us into the playoffs. People are also forgetting, he only had 16 touchdowns in the air, but he had 10 on the ground. 10 touchdowns on the ground. I think that gets overlooked. He led the NFL in rushing for a quarterback. And yeah, I know, the guy in the Ravens was hurt, but he still came to play. He still strapped up his shoes every day, his cleats, and ran for, 800 yards or whatever it was. So that's still impressive in itself. He maintained, pretty much being healthy most of the year, except, at the tail end of the year, he was dealing with an ankle injury, but that's to happen. You know what I'm saying? That's just normal things, but he's a quarterback who can run and slide. He reminds me of Russell Wilson in that aspect at the beginning of his career. People forget Russell Wilson wasn't the most accurate quarterback to start off. He got better and better as the years went. They added more weapons. They got a rushing attack that was superior, and they got a great defense. And what did they do? They went to the Super Bowl twice and won 1. They should have won 2. So we forget that, these quarterbacks have to develop. We have to give them time. And for a quarterback like Jalen Hurts to lead us to the not to the promised land, but at least to the dance. We were there and we had a shot. we have to give him credit. We have to give Nick Sirianni credit as well as, a rookie head coach. But Jonathan Gannon, I don't give him much of a pass because he had tools around him that I thought were tailor-made to win that game yesterday. I thought, Darius Slay, he put Darius Slay in a bad position yesterday the more I think about it. Yes, he did get beat by Evans quite a few times. But the game plan going in, he wasn't in that mindset like, oh, I'm gonna lock this guy down, Mike Evans. That wasn't the game plan. The game plan was to play soft and hopefully Tom would miss on some of these easy throws and that we could get him off on third down, and that wasn't the case. Jonathan Gannon failed us a lot this season, and I think if anyone deserves to go, it's Jonathan Gannon. And I think we can, find a better DC, a more experienced DC. Vic Fangio, I think he would be a perfect fit for the Eagles. He's experienced. He's been around the league. He's seen a lot, and he obviously has some head coach experience as well. So he just brings that to the table. So I hope we close the door on Jonathan Gannon this summer and bring somebody else in, because I felt like he definitely held this team back a lot this year. So Nick Sirianni got 31% of the vote on who's to blame for the Eagles' playoff loss. Like I said, 255 of you voted, and Jalen Hurts led the way with 36%, Nick Sirianni 31%, which is obviously, not anything crazy. Usually the head coach and the quarterback get most of the blame. Jonathan Gannon got 10%. Jaylen Reagar got 15%. And the other was in the comments, which I'll get to in a moment. A lot of you guys voiced your opinion, and I'll definitely get to that in the comments shortly. But let's get to Jaylen Reagar. So obviously, I think everyone knows how I stand, and pretty much the fan base as a whole. We don't want this guy back. Everyone's trying to figure out, what's the best way to get rid of him. How can we get him off of this team? I think the best way is to find a trade. But at the end of the day, who really wants a player like this who, is a guarantee, a solidified bust at this point? He solidified that bust definitely near his name. Whenever you think of bust, you're gonna think of Jaylen Reagar, a first-round pick who hasn't done nothing. So that obviously isn't a good selling point of how he's trying to get rid of him, but maybe it's something that we could give up a pick and him. We could package it somehow, some way. We got to get rid of Reagar. People are throwing out we should just cut him. I read today that if we cut him, we'll have to eat $10 million over the next 2 years. I'm not 100% sure about that. I got to crunch the numbers and check that out myself, but I don't know, man. I think it damn near is worth, that roster spot, that wide receiver roster spot. We brought him in. We thought he was going to be a number 2 this year. He got plenty of snaps and all the opportunity in the world, but he ended up being a number 3 on our team. And honestly, he wouldn't even been that if Greg Ward got more opportunities and more snaps. He probably would have, dropped to 4 on the depth chart. So, a player like that obviously is going to struggle next year because this team is definitely going to bring in another wide receiver. So that's just going to make Jaylen Reagar look even worse, and it's looking like, which I hope not, but it's looking like he's just another J-Jaw, man. He's another J.J. Arcega-Whiteside where we're just going to have to hold on to him and bury him on the depth chart, and he barely gets snaps until he's gone, So yeah, Nick, I agree. Adios 18. I wish it was that easy. I wish we could just, say goodbye and move on from this guy. But, we are tied to him. And that is going to be, a big question going into the offseason. How can we get rid of Jaylen Reagar? Or if Howie is going to be, in his stubborn ways and not realize that, hey, this guy's obviously a bust. He's never going to be a good player for us. How can I get rid of him? It's really hard for Howie to get rid of his guys, as we know. He really struggles with letting go of a player that he chose. So it's going to be a very interesting offseason. But let's get into the comments. Like I said, who's to blame for the Eagles' playoff loss? Let's get into the comments on who exactly, people are the most upset about. Okay, so True Savage wrote, the whole team proud we got in the playoffs. Future looks bright. Fly, Eagles, fly. So, yeah, I believe definitely the whole team deserves, as a whole, some blame for yesterday's loss. It was definitely not our best outing, not our best showing, especially on prime time with everybody watching, going up against the GOAT. It just, people really were excited for this game, especially myself. And, we just didn't show it all out there like we could have. So I agree with you that the future is bright, but yesterday was a whole team loss. Whole team effort loss. Cassius Saldana wrote, if you say Nick Sirianni, especially over Jaylen Reagar or Gannon, you got to rewatch the game. It was completely Reagar and Hurts' fault. The defense struggled as well because of Gannon. Why are they playing soft coverage on 3rd and 3? That's not how it works. I agree with you, my man. I agree with you. Like I said, I put most of the blame on Jonathan Gannon. His scheme this year was mostly poor. He played a lot of scared football, a lot of scared DC. So I'm not really comfortable with him returning next year. I think that he could go out there. We could get another guy opposite of Slay. We could go out, retool the defensive line, get rid of some of the dead weight on that defensive line and upgrade the linebackers. And I still feel like he may, have that same similar soft approach. So he makes me nervous bringing him back. And if I was, Howie and I was Nick Sirianni, when they link up at the end of the year and have their, end of the year meetings before they go on vacations with their families, I hope that that's the main topic of discussion, because defense wins championships. And this year, like I said, we were top 10 in a lot of categories. And I think that was despite having a bad defensive coordinator calling up the plays. So, going forward, I hope we definitely move on. Chronic Spin Dash wrote, whole team, to be honest, happy for the upside going forward. Go Birds. I agree with you. Definitely happy for the upside. We have to, like I said earlier in this video, we have to look at where we started. Last year, we were 4-11-1. So we had 11 losses and 1 tie. It was a terrible year, obviously, so we didn't have a lot to look forward to this year besides the hope for, a second-year quarterback, really a rookie quarterback, and a new head coach, see what they could bring to the table. And guess what? They got us in the playoffs, It's something that Wentz and company couldn't do last year. As much as I love Doug, and I still miss Doug sometimes, especially games like that where we could have used some experience coaching. It is what it is. They couldn't get it done last year, and, it was a bad year. And this year gave us a lot of hope, so I definitely agree. Fly Eagle 77 wrote, every damn buddy, hold yourself accountable, watch film, and learn where you can get better next year and use the draft wisely. Roseman goes on vacation during the draft. Definitely, Howie has to nail this draft. Let's be honest. This is the biggest draft I think we've ever had. Even having that, number 2 pick when we drafted Wentz, this is way more important. This holds a lot more weight. This is 3 picks in the top 20. So I don't think we've ever had anything like this in the first round that I can remember. So this is a big opportunity to capitalize. And just like he said, everybody's got to hold themselves accountable, watch film, and learn. But that goes for Howie Roseman as well. He's got to get in there, check out the film, watch some film, and see that Jaylen Reagar is a lost cause, and we have to move on and find better receivers to surround Jalen Hurts with. Andrew Brown said the whole offense is at fault for this one. The defense actually got some sacks, and early on, this defense played okay. The offense, however, scheme-wise and QB-wise, it was a horror movie being played on the field. Sirianni got out-coached. Hurt was stuck throwing to Reagar. For some bizarre reason, I thought it was bizarre as well. He kind of over-targeted Reagar in this game. Reagar 1,000% needs to go. It doesn't even matter if you trade him for a bag of chips and a handshake. Get rid of that bum. Ooh, that's tough. I definitely feel you, though. He had all the opportunities this year to prove some of us that doubted him wrong, some of us that, were cheering him on and hoping the best for Reagar and, trying to put confidence out there into the universe that he would, somehow turn it around from his rookie season. But he let us down this year. And I think he can look at himself, if he's being honest with himself, he can look at himself and be like, I let myself down, the team down, and the fans down. He's got to hold himself accountable, but I just don't think he's that type of guy that really looks himself in the mirror and wants to really change. He's the type of guy who's made a lot of excuses so far. He's been very sensitive to the fan base, knowing that, you weren't drafted, to a soft franchise. You were drafted to the Eagles, and he hasn't embraced that. Unlike, Smitty, who, walked in and was like, I'm going to work for everything. I'm going to go hard. I'm going to da-da-da-da-da. He said all the right things. And that's what we want from our wide receiver in Philly. We're tough, we have a tough fan base. It is what it is. If you're not ready for that, you gotta go. So, yeah, I agree, man. And yes, yesterday was a horror movie being played on the field at times. It was hard to watch. The game dragged on because we looked like we were dragging our feet for half the game. So, yeah, it just wasn't obviously a fun game to watch. D Rose wrote, we were penalized like crazy, and still some ugly fans want to blame Jalen, youngest quarterback in the playoffs, against the 7-time reigning Super Bowl champ. He's right. It was definitely not an easy position for a first-year quarterback to be in the playoffs to go up against. There was a lot of pressure yesterday on Jalen Hurts, but pressure, someone told me once before, pressure makes diamonds. And yesterday was just a part of the process. Yesterday was a part of, the pressure, and there's going to be even more pressure now. The fan base is going to be on him. As you can see in these comments, the fan base is not taking it easy on Jalen, and I think he knows that. Yesterday, he owned up. He put the loss on him, which I respect. That's what I want. That's something that number 11 last year and years prior would never truly do. He would never own up to, his flaws and his mistakes out on the field. He would never truly, put it all on his shoulders. And you know what? The great quarterbacks, the great athletes, all put it on them at the end of the game if they lost. You know what I'm saying? That's what you do. And you praise your teammates when you win, because you realize you can't do it without them. So that's what I do. I love about Jalen Hurts. He has that above the shoulders, he has that, mentality that, hey, I didn't play great today. I'm going to make up for it. Yesterday I said that, he missed on the rent. He obviously, his whole motto is rent is due every day. And yesterday he missed the rent. The rent was due yesterday and he missed it. But he's not getting evicted in my eyes. We're not going to evict this guy because he missed the rent one day. Yeah, it was the biggest game of the season, but we got to give him time. We got to give him time, and, hopefully, he won't be late next year when we need him most. So let's get back to the comments. Philly for life. I'm going to be honest. Jaylen Reagar needs more confidence. He just don't got it right now. Hurts needs to be better. You can't throw 2 picks in the red zone. Also drop passes. Come on, guys. Anyways, go Birds, baby. So, obviously the picks in the red zone really hurt us yesterday. We could have had some momentum going in to the halftime, but he threw some picks, and it just kind of rattled him a little bit. I thought he did gain his composure, going into the third quarter, into the fourth. I thought he settled in the pocket, but at that point, obviously, it was too late, and we were down. As far as Jalen Reagar needs more confidence, though, I don't buy into that. I think he's a confident kid, but I think it's more cocky than confident, and I think that shows on the field, because if he was confident, he would go up there and snag the ball. He would go up there and just completely, dominate when it comes to, these one-on-one matchups that he has, and he doesn't do that on a consistent basis. So I don't think it's confidence. I think he has a false cockiness confidence going into games that he is, this first round player and that he can do this and that, but it's not adding up to results on the field. Blaze Sellers wrote, everyone except Smith, since he basically played perfect, but I'm happy that this basically the entire new team made it to the playoffs. Fly Eagles fly. Yeah, it was a new team. We did have, quite a few new players, but at the end of the day, I think you're right. I think Smith was the one bright spot yesterday that I can't really complain about. I have really no complaints about Smith. He was open a lot. He wasn't even targeted that first half, which was really, really frustrating for all of us. I thought going into this, I really thought the game plan was to be like, yo, we're going to smash these guys in the mouth. Okay. We're going to run some play action. We're going to go straight to our top targets. And who have our top targets been all season? And that's Smith and Dallas Goedert. We're going to go straight to them. And then when they least expect it, we're going to go deep to Quez. And the deep passes were there to Quez. And yeah, we did start targeting the hell out of Dallas Goedert and Smitty. I think they both finished with over 10 targets, 11 for Smith and 12 or 13 for Dallas. But at the end of the day, it was too little too late. And I think that is also, on Nick Sirianni, because he took accountability at the end of the game and said that, he didn't have Smith targeted enough to start the game. And that's correct. I think he definitely owned up to, the loss yesterday. So we'll have to give him credit. And we also have to give him time to grow as well. Real TV wrote, the team is to blame. The whole team. You could not have possibly beat the Super Bowl champs at a developing stage. Yeah, you're right. I think some people went into the game, definitely like, I don't think we're going to win this game. It's just, we're going up against Tom, let's just do our best. But I think we didn't give our best at the beginning of the game. And yeah, it was a whole team effort loss. Curly Quan wrote, the whole team, to be honest, fire Gannon, trade Reagar, and draft some damn defense. Okay, so let's talk about that. Let's talk about the defensive personnel. Were we lacking at the linebacking position this year? Yes, I think everyone knows that. I think TJ Edwards definitely improved as the year went on. He was definitely snagging some picks and was great in coverage and was all over the field. Alex Singleton, I thought, came a long way as well. I think at the beginning of the year, it was same old Alex Singleton chasing guys. Yeah, getting a lot of tackles, but it's from behind. It's trailing the defenders, trailing the guy with the ball, and then, finally wrapping him up and getting him down. So I think a lot of Alex Singleton's stats are kind of skewed. And I think if you really look at him as a player, you would see that, he definitely misses more than he, attacks the ball. So let's see what we do in the draft. I think we should draft one linebacker in the first or second round for sure. I think we should bring back TJ Edwards and also bring back Alex Singleton, because like I said, he did get better as the year went on. So we shall see. Rick Atlantis wrote, I'm glad we all on the same page. Jalen played terrible with no help from garbage play calls. Okay, so let's be honest. The play calls, I wouldn't say garbage, but they definitely were not on point to start the game. And, when you come out and you rested your guys a week before and they didn't have that momentum that they would have had if we would have played our starters and possibly beat Dallas at home or riding a 5-game win streak, because we sat guys, I think that we kind of came out flat. And I think Nick Sirianni and his play calls definitely had a big part in the game. Maurice Robertson wrote, they need a great quarterback with a deep arm in the draft. I think that's definitely going to be a lot of Eagles fans' opinions going into this draft, obviously, and with some potential veteran quarterbacks possibly being available this summer. Russell Wilson, to name one, that's definitely been thrown around a lot. But we shall see. I think he has the arm. I think Jalen Hurts has the arm, but he just lacks in his timing. His timing is off. Like we seen yesterday, sometimes he takes off in the pocket just a little too early instead of waiting, finding that guy just a half second, a split second longer, waiting and finding that guy open. He sometimes takes off. He gets happy feet, like I said before. So if he can clean that up, which can be cleaned up, we've seen that he went from 52% completion percentage in year 1 to 61 or 62 this year. So obviously that's a big improvement. And when you improve, you get another shot. So I'm not subscribing to drafting a quarterback in this draft. Obviously, if there was, someone that was really good coming out of this year's draft that I thought could lead this team in the future at the quarterback position, I would consider it, but I'm not really high on a lot of guys in this upcoming draft at the quarterback position. I think if anything, we give Jalen Hurts one more year, and if he doesn't improve in year 3, then we can look towards the draft. But I'm into subscribing to the fact that he should stay in year 3. We should build around him and give him one more shot. That's what I'm saying. Jackson442 wrote, we need to draft Aiden Hutchinson. I'm not opposed to, looking at all draft prospects, so definitely shoot me all your draft prospects. Stephen Leary wrote, the team in a whole. So I think a lot of Eagles fans are definitely saying that the whole team in general was to blame for this one. I think a lot of people think that it wasn't just on one guy's head, that the whole team. Christopher Manano wrote, the whole team, I blame the Eagles. So another guy. So remain loyal to your soil wrote, play calling. It was horrid, which I agree. On both sides of the football, it was horrible at times. You're definitely not wrong about that. And Kevin Lopez wrote, Reagar's to blame the most. So to that question, I'm reading questions and comments from my community page. So if you go to my YouTube page and click community, you'll see a whole bunch of polls and posts for me. So that's what I was reading off of. I took a poll yesterday, who's the most to blame for the Eagles playoff loss, and those were all the comments. So definitely go check it out and definitely voice your opinion. I'm going to get to the guys, everybody in the live chat. Looks like, we got a few people in the live chat. Thank you for tapping in. If you're new to the channel, get down with ERT and hit that subscribe button. We're definitely growing and we're close to 1,000. So, definitely get down with ERT. So like I said, man, a lot of players on this team definitely need to improve this year. I think that with a full off season, after we can finally, take a step back and look at Jalen Hurts, Jaylen Reagar, some of these guys who have been around. Obviously, JJ is going to be gone, which I can't wait for. That's another roster spot that opens up. I think that obviously Jordan Howard might not be back next year because he's an aging player who's been dealing with a lot of injuries. So I think we're going to look for a bruiser in the draft. But, as far as this year goes, I had a lot of fun. I think last year was basically, we were in the gutter last year as Eagles fans. We didn't have much to look forward to week to week. As much as we, wanted the team to be good last year, the roster just wasn't made to win. And I think this year it was made to win. I think with some adjustments, we can definitely go farther in the winning category next year. I think we can win the division. I think we seen yesterday that the Cowboys, their window closed. Let's talk about the Cowboys. How do you guys feel about, us and our division opponents next year? Considering what they did this year, how do you feel about, how we stack up even before the draft? If we, just go into next year, knowing what we know now, how do you feel about us going into the 2022-2023 season against our opponents? I feel confident. I feel confident that we have the best coach in the division. Nick Sirianni led us to the playoffs as a rookie head coach. I think that we have a promising quarterback. I wouldn't say he's a finished product. I wouldn't say that, he's better than Dak, but I think he's shown a lot of things that Dak did at the beginning of his career that he's shown later on. And let's be honest, Dak isn't, he's not this god at quarterback that, Cowboys fans like to think of him as. Yesterday, what did he do? He threw an interception. He fumbled. They couldn't even get the ball down. He forgot the rules that the umpire has to touch the ball before you can hike. They were a scrambling clown show yesterday. So let's be honest. How big of a difference is Dak compared to Jalen Hurts? Is that conversation needs to be had? I think at this point Dak choked under pressure. DBK just wrote. I believe he's choked under pressure every year of his career. He's never got them to a championship game even, and they've had. For one, they have a great stadium. Okay, they have an indoor stadium. They have 2 really good wide receivers. They have an offensive line who's obviously stacked. They have a defensive line that's stacked. They have guys in the secondary making plays. Diggs had 11 picks, even though I think he's a little overrated as far as a cover corner because he gets blown by a lot. I still think he obviously had a great year. So, they got all the pieces in Dallas and they still can't even get past, the first round. So, Dak has stars around him compared to Hurts. I agree with you on that. Marky Dan wrote, they have a fan base that puts no pressure on them. Yeah, they just, they have false hope throughout the year, as we all know. And then if they get into the playoffs, they're we them boys, and then it's them tears at the end of the game, at the end of the season. It's always them tears falling and flowing from their eyes, as we seen last night. They're literally in tears and throwing trash and bottles at their players. Let's be real here. The Eagles fans have this. Oh, they're so hard on their guys, and they're such a tough fan base, and who would want to go there? Who would want to play for the Cowboys? Who would want to play for that franchise? Besides, the primetime games that they get and all the opportunities for sponsors and this and that. Besides that, if you're talking about the product on the field, then we have to really have a conversation because y'all haven't done anything. And the Cowboys, they're I think 25 plus years, they haven't reached the championship game, 11 appearances in the playoffs. They haven't been able to do it. So let's be honest. We them boys, that needs to stop. It's we them tears at the end of the year. So every season it's the same old thing. And next year, I'm really looking forward to beating them at Jerry World with a much improved roster, and a second year head coach who went through, his lumps this year, who went through, we joked about him, let's be honest about Nick Sirianni. He started off goofy. Okay, he started off goofy. We all were like, I wasn't hard on him. I could tell he was just, he was excited. He's a football guy, and I could see that he was just really excited. And the moment was maybe a little too big for him at the press conference, but you could tell he wasn't a bad coach. So I think that if we stack up him, who maybe fumbles at his words a little bit, maybe compares the team to flowers and this and that, and, gets joked on. But would you rather have him or what the Cowboys have? Because it looks to me like they have the worst coach in the league, in my opinion. He couldn't get that team past the 49ers, a 6 seed. And don't get me wrong, Debo and the rest of them boys, Bosa and them boys, they are tough. And that team, that 49ers team, they could, mess around and make the Super Bowl this year. I would not be surprised. Jimmy G, he's not the greatest quarterback, but if he can manage the game without throwing a pick like he did, towards the end of the game and missing on that easy third down pass, if he can, do what he's got to do, they could make it to the Super Bowl. So I'm not trying to say that they went up against, some bum team yesterday. But the facts are the Cowboys, they underachieved, and, like I said, we them tears every year. So, and we have to look at the Washington football team. They're a complete mess. Their stadium is falling apart, for God's sakes. And let's be honest here. I don't want to get into my conspiracy theory, but was that even an accident, or was that an attack on our QB, one of the possible future? You let me know in the comments. Is that just me? I thought about that a couple times as I seen that fall down. It just looked too It just looked too on purpose at the time. I don't know. It just you let me know in the comments. Was that a Dan Snyder attack, or was that an accident? But with all jokes aside, that team is obviously, they're in shambles like their stadium, and I don't think they're going to be a threat to us. A lot of people were woofing that they had this great defense and all this going into this season, and I just didn't see it. I don't see it on the outside. I don't see it at, they have Chase Young and Jonathan Allen. They got a few guys on that defensive line, don't get me wrong, but that can't make up for all those deficiencies they have. And then at quarterback, they have, Fitzpatrick was supposed to be Fitzmagic, and he couldn't even, get on stage to do any tricks. So at the end of the day, that team is in shambles. They're probably going to draft a bum in the quarterback as a quarterback this year in the second or third round. And, they're on a carousel that just keeps going around and around. No one's worried about the Washington football team. They won last year in 2020, and who really cares? Exactly, DBK. They only have Chase Young. And I see you guys in the group chat. Appreciate you guys, man. Definitely let me know how you're feeling in the group chat. Let's keep it going. So to move on to the last opponent in our division, which almost isn't even worth mentioning at this point, the Giants. We thought that they were gonna, obviously bring back Joe Judge, I said the Cowboys had the worst coach. I think Joe Judge was actually the worst coach in the NFL. I take that back. But, so I think that team is definitely not a threat. They signed Kenny Golladay to $72 million in this offseason, and I thought he was supposed to be some great wide receiver, and he had a donut as far as the touchdowns go this year. He had 0 touchdowns. Let's just say this. Reagar had more touchdowns than him. That's how bad it is over there, guys. That's how bad it is. Devonta Smith had more total touchdowns than their whole wide receiving core. They drafted Tony, who a lot of people were high on in the draft. Wasn't really my favorite guy going into the draft. He kind of looked like another Reagar to me if I'm keeping it 100 with you guys. This is Eagles Real Talk, so I'm always going to keep it 100. So, Golladay is a bust for them, and they're stuck with him. They're stuck with this guy. They're bringing back Daniel Jones, supposedly, who has a bad neck and this and that, and he's nothing to be proud about and to be hopeful for if you're a Giants fan. So they call him Daniel Dimes, which Daniel pennies, nickels. He's definitely not no dimes. He ain't dropping no dimes out there. So I don't know where they got that nickname from. So regardless, I feel like if you go through the teams in the division, yes, this year we finished second. But I think if you look forward, the Cowboys are going to lose a lot of guys in free agency this year. They're $13.5 million over the cap already, so they have no money to spend. They're going to have, a low 20 pick in the draft, and that one pick can only do so much for you, unlike the Birds who have 3. And we have to thank Howie for that. We have to thank Howie because don't get me wrong. Yeah, we're mad at Howie because he drafted JJ. We're mad at Howie because he drafted Reagar. Don't get me wrong. I'm upset about it too. But think about this. When the draft comes along and we have 3 picks, 15, 16, and the 19th pick, we're going to be going crazy. We're going to be so excited and hopeful for next year. And I don't want to get too far ahead of myself because we could, mess around and trade one of those picks, trade 2. Who knows with Howie? But right now, I think the excitement level should be high on the draft. And I think that we need to look forward and also give, a little bit of appreciation to Howie because at the end of the day, Wentz is not the guy. He wouldn't have been the guy this year. So by him drafting Hurts at number 53 overall last year, was it the right decision? We made the playoffs. We had a chance. A lot of teams look around the league. They ain't got a chance. The quarterback that they're stuck with for multiple years on high contracts. I believe Jalen Hurts was like the number 55 ranked quarterback as far as salaries this year. So we're paying this guy basically nothing to be our guy. So DBK, Howie is up and down roller coaster. He is an up and down. Yeah, he is. But so is being an Eagles fan to some certain extent. These years over the past 5 years since we won the Super Bowl, we have been somewhat of a roller coaster. So that just kind of goes with the territory. I think that this team is never boring, and that's something that I love being about. I love being a Birds fan because this team is never boring. And let's look at this. The Cincinnati Bengals. They just won their first playoff game in 31 years. Who wasn't even born? In the comments, let me know. Were you even born the past 31 years? Their franchise they didn't have text messages back then. They didn't have compute. Imagine being that bad. So we have to look around the league. Yeah, Howie's not the greatest, but he's not the worst either. I know the Howie topic is never going to end. And even if we win a Super Bowl next year, some people are still going to despise Howie. And to some certain extent, DBK 1981, to some certain extent, he's to blame for a lot of things. But he also drafted a lot of good. He brought in a lot of good players, drafted a lot of good players. That Super Bowl year, notable Patrick Robinson, who I think nobody saw that coming, and he saw something. What's up, Philly Talk Podcast? What's up, my guy, Philly Mike? Shout out. But definitely, we definitely got to give this guy credit because he's doing something right. At the end of the day, he's doing something right, and we have to give him a little. We have to give him his flowers, at some certain point. And for the people who are big fans of Hurts, you definitely have to give Howie some credit because he drafted him at 53 when nobody seen that coming. Not one Eagles fan seen that coming. So at the end of the day, you got to give Howie some credit. Let's talk about. Oh, hold on. DBK, I still don't like Howie, but he just puts you on the edge of your seat. He does, like we were just talking about. It's a roller coaster ride, but at the end of the day, he does. He at least gives us some excitement. He at least gives us something to talk about. What if we had Gettleman? What if we had what if we had the Bears GM who they just let go? We have to sometimes pump the brakes. I think we get a little too excited sometimes when it comes to our GM. We have to give him a little bit of credit, but at the end of the day, he's missed, and he's also swished some of those. He's drained some of those from downtown, like that Mailata pick. A lot of people don't give him enough credit for that. This guy was he was an Australian rugby player, and look, he's arguably, in my opinion, he's the best left tackle in the league this year. I think he had something to say in the Lane Johnson pick as well back in the day. He's drafted Miles Sanders, who's been solid for us. He's drafted some guys that we have to give him some credit for. We can't just keep sitting back and blaming him for everything. The Jaylen Reagar pick, yes, that's obviously like that. That's almost worth 2 drafts. That's almost like 2 picks in one. That's bad because it's so hard to get rid of him at this point. But like he said, Mailata was a great pick, and we've had some gems that we've re-signed, like Dallas Goedert as well. People forget that draft. We stole him. We stole Dallas from Dallas that year. People forget that. We could have been watching Dallas Goedert on the Dallas Cowboys last year, and how that would have felt. If the Dallas Cowboys had him, they'd be really, really formidable at the wide receiver and tight end position, the pass catcher position. So we have to give Howie credit. He also made the deal with the devil, and he got Jerry Jones to trade that pick, and we got in front of the Giants, who could have been watching Devonta Smith on the Giants this year. We have to think about these things as, supporters of the Birds. We can't just tear this guy apart. Watched this interview right before the draft. Let me check this out. I was like, yo, we need to get this guy Mailata. Yeah, I did hear about Mailata before the draft as well. I seen his rugby highlight, and I was like, whoa, this guy. We may have to put this guy at halfback, at freaking running back, because man, he is And I thought we were going to see that eventually. I thought one time we were going to use him as like, a refrigerator Perry type of player and, let him get a touchdown just like we got Lane a touchdown this year, which, that lane touchdown was a special one for me because, we were definitely, in support of Lane Johnson this whole year, dealing with his anxiety, dealing with everything that he went through this year. So that scoring that touchdown meant a lot for me, but it would have been cool to see, Mailata get a touchdown as well. Yeah, fullback, definitely. Use him as a fullback. That's what the words I was looking for earlier. Because he could definitely be a crazy lead block for Miles Sanders. I hope next year we do some things like that. I thought, yesterday I was also a little upset as well because I thought we were going to use Darius Slay at least a play or two on offense, to run something, switch things up and throw a little monkey wrench in the defense's plans, but we didn't try anything like that. We didn't have no special plays. I mean, it was just a bland offensive game plan, and we just didn't go after. We didn't target their guys in the secondary that I thought could have been had. So it was obviously not the best showing for us overall, like all of us have said in the chat room. But that's going to do it for me. Thank you for tapping into Eagles Real Talk. If you haven't already, hit that subscribe button. We should hit 1,000 subs by the next couple days. And once we hit 1,000 subs, I have some cool announcements coming. So definitely get down with ERT. And I'm Bry Wolf. And definitely hit that subscribe button, y'all, because like I said, we're growing the channel, baby. And it's always fly, Eagles fly. I will be back tomorrow with another video. Let's let this loss, settle in a little bit, and let's talk more football later on this week. All right, y'all. Tap in with me later on. I'll catch y'all. Peace.